In today's video, we are talking about tips and tricks for Windows 10. Some things I didn't cover in the last video when we overviewed Windows 10. So today we're going to cover those now. So the first thing that's kind of a tip or a trick is if you right click on the start menu, you will see that there is a way to sign out, sleep, shut down, restart, or hibernate. If you just regular click on it and then click on power, there is sleep, shutdown, and restart, but you can't actually log out and log in as another user. You'd have to right click in order to do that and hit sign out. So that's the first tip. The second tip is kind of unique. It has to do with the shutting down of a specific program. Now I don't know how you're gonna see this. It might not fully record. My screen might turn black when I do this, but I'm gonna hold down Control, then press Alt, and Delete all at the same time. Control, Alt, Delete. And when I do that, I press on Task Manager. And again, I don't know if it recorded that or not, but when you click Task Manager, what you will see is this box right here. And Task Manager shows you every program that happens to be running on your computer. So for instance, if a program is stuck and is not able to be, utilized because it is jammed or something, you can click on it and then hit end task. So I'm going to end that task. And you'll see it shuts down. That was PowerPoint. It just shuts down the program. Again, if I open up PowerPoint again and then click on this and end the task, no matter what, it will end the task. Okay. Also, if you see, some random program taking up all your CPU usage, maybe you could shut that program down so that you can keep working on something else. Also in this little thing is performance. It kind of shows your CPU and GPU usage, which is kind of helpful if you need to know things. You can open a resource monitor and kind of see things in real time and kind of view the data, so to speak, and see the different programs that are taking up, your CPU and your memory the most, how much memory is free, for instance. I have a lot of memory, 32 gigs of RAM. But anyway, you can see, CPU time for certain apps. You can see startup, which ones are on startup, and you can right click and disable them if you want to. So for instance, if I don't want Cortana to just start on startup, I could right click because it's like, for some reason, is a program that's making my startup time take a long time. I could just right click on that program and hit disable. Same with like IQ or maybe this other one over here. Okay, so that's one thing. The third thing is if you go to run, and in the run here, you type msconfig, all one word. And when you do it, it brings up the system configurations of the computer. Now, why would I do this? Because a lot of times the factory defaults for the computer is set to the lowest possible setting, so you might want to maximize your CPU and memory by clicking on boot, hitting advanced options, changing the number of processors to 8, and the memory to maximum memory. And when you press OK, which I'm not going to do because it will restart my computer and close this whole tutorial off, when you press OK and then when you press apply, it will prompt you to restart your computer and you'll be rebooting. Now, as you can see, I'm currently using like one of the processors and I could be using 8. So it's very helpful to maximize your computer that way using msconfig. Another thing that is super helpful to know how to do is with files. I think this is number 4 I'm on. When you go to files, and let's just say I went into pictures, for instance, not pictures, maybe video. All right, I'm going to go in here. This is a couple files I have. If I wanted to select multiple files like such, I just hold down the control key. So select the first one, control, and I can select as many as I want. So I could select this one and select that one. If I hold down the control key and it does everything in between. See? But if I hold shift, it does everything in between. Control does individual ones, but shift does everything in between. All right. So that's something. If you want to select everything in a list, again, if I select this one, I select this one, I select everything between, then I want to deselect one of them. Just hold the control key and deselect that one in the list. Like let's say this list was really huge. I don't know. Do I have a really huge list? No, not really. But let's just say I held shift and selected all those, and then I want to deselect this middle one. I let go of shift, press control, deselect that one. I could do control C, and I could copy it into another place, control V, and copy those folders in there. Okay. Speaking of that, how do you do a folder? You right click and you press new folder is actually how you do that. Okay, so I could name any folder I want. You could go into a folder, right click, hit new, create another folder in there. And you can keep doing this. You can create as many folders as you want. Folders are a super helpful way to organize files. The other thing when you right click here is new shortcut. And shortcuts are pretty interesting because um, you can do all sorts of things with shortcuts. I'm going to bring over a browser window. So I could go to anything like Cisco certifications. There you go. There's a web page, right? I could grab this URL by clicking in the URL bar, press Control C and copy it. I could also right click and copy it. And then I can do new shortcut and I can do Control V and drop that in there. Press next, name it, whatever, blah, 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 you know, whatever you want to call the link. And then hit finish. Okay, and then you have this link on your desktop that you can double click and go straight to that website every time. Okay, as you can see there, it opens up that website in my browser. Okay, so that's one thing. Also, I don't know if I showed this in the other video, but you can drill all the way down to the executable by going to local disk, program files 86. Again, this is in the folder, local disk, program files 86, and clicking on an individual program like Chrome, drilling down all the way to the application, and you'll see the executable file. If you right click on that, you could hit send to the desktop right there, and then that's another way to create shortcuts. Okay, so that's again super helpful to know. Fifth thing or sixth thing, whatever we're on, is how to create a screenshot. And there are multiple ways to do this. So if you're on a Mac computer, the hotkey is Control-Shift-4, which we're not on a Mac, so that doesn't matter. But if you have a Mac computer, that could be helpful to know. But if you're on a PC, there are multiple ways to do this. And so the first thing is you hit Control, print screen, and then paste into Microsoft Paint. So on your keyboard, press the Control key, there's this key that literally has PRTSC, or print screen is what that stands for. It's kind of in a region with the end, the delete key. There's like a series of 9 keys. It's in that block of keys. It's not on the actual section of the keyboard, but it's over a little bit in the second section. And the third section is the number keypad. It's kind of that middle section. But if you hold down Control and press print screen, and then you open up Paint, and then you do Control V to paste, boom, there is your screen completely screenshot. Now I have 2 screens, as you can see here, so it screenshotted the whole thing, and you'd have to turn off your other screen if you don't want that to happen, of course. So that's the first way to do it. The second way is to press the Windows key and then print screen. So here I am pressing the Windows key. Actually is on your keyboard section. It looks like a Windows. Looks just like this icon down here. So you press the Windows key and press print screen, and the whole keyboard, the whole screen blinks, meaning it took a screenshot. And then you go to the folder, click on Pictures and Screenshots, and there is your screenshot of your screen. Of course, I have 2 screens, so you can see again, it takes both screens. All right, so that's that. Then the third way to take a screenshot is go down to Cortana and search for Snipping tool, which by the way is extremely helpful. if you want just a piece of like a website or web page or something. So I'm going to press new, and then it allows me to snip a part of the screen. Like let's say I just wanted the logo here. Snip, cut that right out. I could press File, Save As, save it as, name it whatever I want to the desktop, hit save, and there we go. I literally have a picture of my computer class background, or at least the logo part. So I'll throw that out. Super helpful to know right there. Two more things and I'll be done. The seventh thing I think we're on is how to create a new desktop. And so that is the Windows key and then Control and D. So Windows key, Control, D. Okay, you just saw that, right? It's a new desktop. All right. And so Windows key, Control, arrow over to get back to my other desktop. And basically you can switch between these pretty easily if you just keep clicking, if you just hold down Control and the Windows key and then arrow back and forth. Again, see I have two desktops here. Like why would you ever need two desktops? Well, if you want to have, two different layouts going on, programs open in different things. Like let's say I open PowerPoint in this desktop, right? I'm right here and I'm working on this PowerPoint, but I don't want to close everything down. I kind of just want to go to a new desktop, Control and Windows key and arrow over, and there I am on this desktop, and I could open up PowerPoint again here if I wanted to, right? And work on all that, and then go back to the other desktop if I want to. Okay, so again, not too hard to navigate between these two. Okay, and do such things. So to move, but if I wanted to, I can also move programs between desktops. And to move a window from one desktop to the other, you first open the task view pane and hover over the desktop containing the window you want to move. So here's the task view pane. It's at the bottom right here. You just click task view. And you can see your different desktops. I'm going to close this one. I apparently made 3. I could take this PowerPoint presentation and I can drop it into desktop 2. See that? Close out of the rest of these. Okay, I can go into desktop 2, right? Control, window, arrow back and forth. Again, you can see how I could have 2 different workspaces laid out if I just Control, Windows key, and I can shift between them. And again, if I just click on the task view right here, I can decide which programs are in which desktop area, which is super helpful, by the way. Super helpful to know. To close the desktop, so I'm going to go over to this one. To close this desktop, what I would need to do is click on the Windows key Control, and then I could press F4, and this desktop will be closed. And of course, it'll move all the programs I have open to the only desktop that's left, pretty much. So again, what's the point really of multiple desktops? I think it's pretty cool. It's the ability to switch back and forth between things that are open. So, and the escape key gets you out of that window, by the way. So it could be a super helpful thing that somebody could utilize and play around with if they wanted to. Lastly, I wanted to recommend a few pieces of software that you might use on your computer because, it's hard. Maybe this is the first time you've utilized Windows 10. Like, what do I install on it, right? Well, there's a few things I would install. First, I would install Google Chrome. It's one of the best browsers out there. Firefox is a close second. It's not bad if you're a Linux user, but Google Chrome's a pretty great browser. The second thing is definitely install Microsoft Office. Go to Microsoft365.com and get a copy of Microsoft Office. I'll be talking a lot about that in this class and giving tutorials on all of those things. And then I would recommend something called VLC Player. Let me actually Google this one in front of you. VLC Player. And this is basically an open source project. It allows you to play all types of media. It's super helpful, and you can convert videos down to smaller file sizes if you need to do that with this piece of software. It's a universal video player, which is super helpful to have. Evernote is something I would install. If I was in need of a virus protection software, I would get something called Bitdefender. And I'm going to go to Bitdefender's website here and click on the home solution. This is probably the best virus protection software that on the market. It's really lightweight. It doesn't like clog your computer. Of course, obviously there's virus protection software built into Windows. So if you feel like you need this, then make sure you turn off Windows Defender. So go to the Windows security there and make sure you disable the virus protection software that's on the computer before fully installing Bitdefender. Otherwise, you'll be running two virus protection softwares and your computer will run very slowly. So anyway, again, this is where you, by the way, this is where you scan for your computer to see if it has any viruses. It automatically does it every so many days, or depending on what you have set up. But again, a software I recommend getting if you're one of those users who could potentially need it. Virus protection software. All right. And then, of course, I'm not going to go too much into this, but maybe one of your favorite gaming platforms, whether that be Steam or Blizzard or Origin or Epic or whatever. All right. So I think that I've covered everything I can for tips and tricks, if I could talk. Any things I might have missed something. There's definitely more to talk about when it comes to Windows 10, but this has just been a brief overview in these 3 lessons, and hopefully you've learned something, and I will see you in the next video.